I know you know a lot about Plato, but when you've taken your top off, I really want to have a play with those two. Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, a man who I have titled Doctor, from Sheffield, with an obsession with disc sports. I could call him Dr. Frisbee Sheffield, but alas, that name is taken by the Director of Studies in Philosophy at Christ College, Cambridge, so you'll have to settle once again for Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
Doing very well. Thank you, Rich. I was disappointed.
Sorry.
I know. It's been a big interest with a brother of mine, little Chris,
Okay.
raised that with me. I was like, wow, how about that? What a name. What a name.
What a name.
Mm.
How can such a person exist? Oh, I had a day of it, Luke.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Rich.
I can't remember what ridiculous name they've given this storm. Storm Irma or something like that. And I'm also conscious as now an adopted Canuck, the weather we have experienced will just be, that's a trifling thing for you guys. It would be nothing. But
we had very similar weather today, maybe a bit less snow, and I went and played a bit of disc golf after watching Wednesday.
Yeah, we lose our minds. We absolutely lose our minds. So Storm Arwen is what we've been hit with. Arwen, yeah. We started naming them a couple of years ago. So presumably this is the first one we've had of the season or the year.
It's with an A, right?
With an A, yeah.
Not Storm Irwin after Dennis Irwin.
No. Or Steve
Irwin.
Yeah.
Or Bindi Irwin.
Yeah. Or there's another one, isn't there? But yeah. But yeah, got in my car. Google immediately said, your route may be affected by Storm Arwen. And Google was not wrong. So having left at 12:30, should have comfortably got to the ground at about 2-ish with that sort of departure time. Missed kickoff. So not a happy bunny, kind of stressful, and took a long route home to avoid the many winding roads. And this just a week after the government cancelled the Northern Powerhouse project, essentially, just really shown how terribly the links between Sheffield and Manchester are the worst, apparently, of any European city or major European cities. And that so yeah, nothing is going to be done to address that fact. But anyway, you're well. That's good.
Yeah.
You frisbee?
I frisbeed like a doctor from Sheffield. Yeah.
You chucked a disc, as you guys tend to say.
Chucked a disc. Yes, I did. Yeah, very much so.
Great stuff. Well, should we get on to news?
Let's get cracking, yeah.
Breaking hoo-hoos.
Hoo-hoos to be broken.
Mm-hmm.
It's more sort of two sort of end points on bits of news that have been rattling around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, Mendez-Laing, who's been training with the club on and off and around for a few weeks, maybe even more than a month now, has actually signed on. So we've brought him to the club. A bit of a checkered past, but also a very good record. He's always played at a good level. Obviously, he left his last club under, or his one of his previous clubs under a bit of a cloud with the old cocaine. He was very at home with all the snow around, I will tell you. Oh, like a pig in muck. Mendez, it's not that sort of powder.
Not even allegedly, is it?
Not even allegedly.
So we don't have to pretend we're being scandalous, nefarious, little dubious little oiks saying nasty things.
When you've been caught with the icing sugar all over your snout and mouth. The questionable nature goes away. It's case closed. But what are your thoughts on bringing him in?
Bringing him in.
Much about him?
I know he's a winger. I know he's someone who's a bit tricky, a bit pacey. I know he can chip in with the odd goal and assist. He's the old, super quick winger who's a bit like shit off a shovel.
Yeah.
And that's as much as I know about the chap. I've always known he's always been in particularly well-regarded form. I think he started his career at Wolves. Was that correct?
I think so, yes. He was kind of one of they had a kind of crop of fancied youngsters, didn't they? And he was one of those.
He's also spent a bit of alone time at the Pigs, didn't he?
He did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back in 2011.
He's had many a storied career at the second tier. He's been a lot of Laura clubs in the Championship.
Lovely clubs. Yeah, Peterborough, Portsmouth, Shrewsbury. It's a bit of a there's a lot going on there.
So it seemed like someone who I think when we were kind of linked and there were some rumors about him in the summer, it seemed like a pretty decent acquisition. Maybe the shine's really been taken off it because he's been training with the club for a long time. He's been linked. He's been there to a long degree. And he has... This is also... I think the context of this signing is something that is probably going to cause a lot of Wednesdayites a bit of dismay, that we seem to have a storied record for signing wingers to then play wing back, which whether is that something that a role that suits them, and then even in this kind of world where we seem to be emulating the overlapping centre backs, maybe we just basically make wingers centre backs, a la Marvin Johnson. So there is that. Also, in the context of this all happening was last time around, we were talking this on the podcast, there were rumors that we were after a mystery free agent defender. So that looked to be revealed in the press as Adrian Mariappa, who is a ripe old age. Ripe old age. And it looks like he's swanned off to Australia.
Yes. He's gone down under.
Down under. He's gone on the hunt for the amber nectar down there. So that's what's happened to Adrian Mariappa. I mean, a fairly decent linkage. Again, he's been at the Championship Club buffet with Mr. Mendez-Laing, having a few.
Certainly, yeah. So I think because the reason that we were looking at him in part was he hadn't been completely inactive. He'd been playing international football. So there was the thought that he could maybe just drop in. I know he's, as you say, he's a ripe old age. Mendez-Laing obviously doesn't have that to draw on. He's been training with the club, but he's not played any games this season. So there'll probably be some sort of bedding in period, I presume.
But sure, bar appearances for the under 23s,
Yeah. Do you think it sort of says something about the recruitment in the summer, though, that we signed so many wingers and it really only feels like Corbeanu is doing what he's supposed to do out of those wingers?
Pretty much. I mean, we can get into today. I think there's maybe a little bit of turning around, hopefully, where Shadipo's had an incredibly patchy record in that regards. So, however you want to put it, rumors of him being on the way out. He's never a person who's never found his footing. It seems a little bit harsh given some players having more chances than others, as we've discussed previously.
Yeah.
But
then
in
terms of what I want from a winger, I'm only really, to this point, I'm only really seeing that from Corbeanu. Johnson's played some games, but interestingly, Brown, who came in as a left back, has played as much on the wing as anybody else.
Yeah.
But none of them have really got tricks. They're not really pacey. They're not really beating men. Essentially, Corbeanu is giving me what I'm after. As if I'm if I'm picturing a winger and wing play, I want somebody that's beating a man, putting crosses in, making things happen, putting the defence on the back foot. I don't see any of that really from Johnson. I know it's unfair to so, but I've not seen very much of that from him. Shadipo's been pretty much hopeless and aimless when he's come on, and he seems to slow the game down rather than kind of pick it up and run at people. So I wonder. I mean, bringing in another winger, Mendez-Laing is known for just running at his man, really, and
it's also the definition now. There's that effectively we're playing with wing backs, right? So, but then so you're adding to that group, you're adding Jack Hunts and you're adding Patterson, which seems to be one of his more natural positions this season, I would say.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And so we've got a wealth of options, and I don't think we're going to get the complete play. Like, I agree with you for the purpose of looking at Corbeanu that he is the player who's looking the complete package in that position. But I don't think we need. I think we just need one of those players on song. I think someone else does other good work in that position. And I mean, you've mentioned Johnson, who seemed to be getting a bit of footing in this weird left centre back role. But I think beforehand, when we looked at that, if we ever did sometimes double up on the wings, I enjoyed Johnson because in that kind of when he gets forward, he's got a decent cross on him from deep.
Yeah, it seemed to weirdly bring the best out of his attacking.
Unless we ever get into, we've also forgot that we've got Liam Palmer, who
love Liam Palmer.
Yeah, he seems to be finally developing into a wing back.
Yeah,
I mean, he has a lot of utility and a lot of strength, but I think it's only been this level and a stage of his Wednesday career in developing his abilities is that we're seeing that side from him that he can do wing back. So there is an absolute ton of options. So the context of this, to go back to, is it is confusing as a Wednesday fan to come into this situation and be like, we've tried for a centre-back defender who is of reputable dispute and still a bit of fitness, and we've got another winger.
Yeah.
It seemed to be the timing. It seemed to be like, you're disappointed we didn't get this, but look what we got you.
Yeah. They seem counter. It seems counter-instinctual to kind of go, oh, you've got space for one more player in the squad. And it's like, well, it would be a defender or the complete opposite of a defender.
Gibson goes back as well,
Yeah.
We're giving up on Gibson.
Yeah.
Which is fair. But
absolutely fair.
Yeah. And then, again, we're still, that maybe kind of brings us into today. We've got stuff to talk about as well, other things to talk about. But there's a quick little link between that is like Palmer was thought to be ill, but it seems to be Palmer's wife has COVID. So as a precaution, Palmer's at home. So that Rob and John were saying in the commentary, which was fed to them from someone on Twitter. So
okay.
I haven't verified how true that is.
Talking about sniffles, he was saying this time of year, even if they've got a sniffle, we send them home. I suppose that makes sense, though. I mean, how many times have we seen like those numbers where it's like a manager comes out at the end of a game, he's like, we've got 9 players down with the flu or whatever. So it's good to try and like manage people. And I think COVID has maybe taught us some of those skills in a way that we had previously.
Maybe talk about management is the way to kind of bring us into the general feeling with the Sheffield Wednesday squad, but also maybe one of the very few notes I have from the midweek game. I'm happy to talk about this game. I did watch it and I do have some feelings to put across, but the only thing I kind of wrote down was really, again, we're looking at in this environment with a Sheffield Wednesday squad, we're looking at some interesting lineups, and we then have the situation where we made changes from the winning team last week again, and then going up against MK Dons. So I was like, oh, is Patterson injured? Turns out Patterson was left out because of the fear of the 5 yellow cards.
Right. Okay.
That seemed to be the narrative I had put across. And maybe that was a cutoff date. I don't really know if that is a cutoff date. I'm going to be honest with you.
Tends to be in December, I think.
Something like that anyway. So, but that was decided. We had an appearance from one of our more disappointing players that we signed, and that's George Byers. And
you're an avowed anti-Byers man at this point.
Yeah. I'm not Byersing what he's selling.
Oh. This guy.
I'm not entirely sure about what he kind of brings to the proceedings. But again,
I've been reasonably, I wouldn't say impressed, but I've not been. Well, I think he had some okay appearances. I think he has at least some tactical discipline. Like he will sit in that kind of anchor holding role, which we've got lots of players who just cannot do that, will not do that. Whether he's really good there, I don't know. That's a different question altogether. Certainly it's been a little underwhelming what we've seen from him. Although he scored that lovely header previously. He's hit the post with efforts. He looks like he's got some ability around the edge of the box in terms of shooting, which is something our captain does not have in that position. So I don't know. I'm sort of still saying the jury's out a little bit for Byers. There's still room for him to impress. Maybe,
okay,
hopefully.
Fair enough. I'll get aboard your
vague hope train.
I'm wondering if Flashscore, in its presentation of having players on the pitch, whether they have a limitation of the width of 4 players, because
they just refuse to go any wider.
They can't go any more. So that's why you've got your boy Jack Hunt in a sweeper role. Screening defensive midfielder.
I just think it's not even worth paying attention to what they do.
Giving them the time of day. So in that game we went with.
Didn't they have Patterson playing like sweeper a game recently as well? Like,
something like that. It's wobbish.
Wobbish.
Anyway, so yeah, I was disappointed that Luongo missed out. I could see. I think there seems to be a lot of squad management going on. So maybe I should probably give a bit of faith to Darren Moore in that. I'm going to be honest.
Well, I don't. I think so often we've seen Luongo come back and then just be injured again so quickly, because he comes back and plays full games and plays start to finish in matches. And I don't mind a bit of changing. And I think it's one of the few areas in the pitch where we actually can change without drastically hurting ourselves. But this game, unfortunately, I was driving down from Scotland, so it was terrific company on my drive, and the sort of final moment, the big moment of the game, happened as I arrived in Chester. So it was beautiful timing on many levels. But what take me through, what was it feeling like that particularly that sort of first half? What was the sort of?
Well, it seemed like, I mean, for a game like this, which was, I feel like I'm probably going to have to go back and kind of look at match recap for this. Look at the report. Looking at this game, like it seemed like a fun kind of game between two teams, and if not at time of kickoff, but teams in and around the top 6 and with aspirations of looking at promotion. And I don't think MK Dons looked a bad side at all, but I think we're really starting to see some confidence with the play that Darren Moore really wants to bring to this football club. So I think that is a huge positive. And I think going into this, if I can kind of look back, I think it was the first half I think we conceded.
No, it was right after half time.
Okay. So, it seemed a game at the half time was a bit like, we're doing pretty well. It's a pretty decent showing.
I think it sounded like, and looking from the stats, it looks like we just absolutely ran them ragged. It just looks like chance after chance. We had 10 shots, total shots in the first half. We've got 25 from the whole game. I've since watched the extended highlights. So Dunkley just seemed to win. All of the corners were put at Dunkley, and Dunkley seemed to win just about every one of them and create all these goalmouth scrambles. And they did well to survive them, but it just felt like probably it was a matter of time before one of them paid off. What did you make of? So in the first half, I think was when Brennan bundled one over the line.
Yeah, I mean, this is the interesting thing is that going into that and seeing that goal, it's disappointing. It's disappointing that we've had one where but I can almost see like the argument to say that Dunkley fouled, but Dunkley is just so athletic and so up for it that he will just leapfrog players pretty much, just get up on their shoulders, give himself a bit of a boost, and absolutely just muller the ball. Much like it's like kids playing leapfrog. It's like the other player defender is crouching down, and Dunkley is towering above them when he just gets going. And it was incredible for a game that basically it seemed to be the tactic we seem to use is we're just going to feed Dunkley. We're just going to hang it up at the backstick, and he's just going to absolutely go for it. I think it was one of the set pieces in the game where Dunkley, I think it was a corner on the left, and Dunkley seemed to be like clearing out the box, telling people to hold back because he was just going to absolutely go for it and just muller it. Yeah, it was just creating the space for him to run in and to just attack it with this prowess that he has, which we're really seeing the joys of for them. So it was harsh. It was a little bit unfortunate. I can probably see why it was given. That wasn't a particularly great decision. We can talk about something else. I'm remembering when I'm looking over the match report here, which was pretty criminal. And then we seem to just go behind from a really good strike from Scott Twine, who seems to apparently have, I think it was said on Al's Americas, I think, brought up that Scott Twine has the best record from outside the box in Europe. Essentially, this is just what he does. He just bangs them in from range. Mm-hmm.
Really, it's one of those you can't really criticize the defense because with the best will in the world, you've got to stand somewhere. He didn't give anybody a chance to close him down, and you can't really criticize the goalie because it's just such a sweet strike. This is it's an interesting game because it felt like there were quite a lot of incidents in a way. I suppose just in terms of Dunkley, did you think 10 minutes in? Did you think that was maybe a penalty that he'd given away? That was Twine through sort of one-on-one.
That was an interesting one. I could see it being given. I thought it was clumsy. It was a bit soft, but also knowing that as much as we're growing to grow into our new romantic relationship with Shea Dunkley, we know he's got previous with being a bit handsy in the box.
Yeah,
it seems to be his defensive style, which doesn't.
I think there's not. Annoyingly, we don't get the other angles, do we? We're not on Sky, so we don't get everything from like 6 different views. But it's not clear that there's that much contact at all. As you say, I think knowing Dunkley and seeing the situation, why would the player go down? But yeah, maybe sort of got away with one there a little bit. But that very unlucky for that goal, that the Brennan goal not to count. I think it just looked like he reacted quicker than everybody else and should have probably been rewarded with a goal for his efforts. I don't think there's anything particularly untoward that Dunkley did.
The thing that baffles me the most, though, is what happened at the hour mark. Is this something that you saw on the extended highlights package, Rich? You probably did.
Yeah, I'm just reminding myself, but yes.
So, Hunt was kind of in the clear, kind of on the angle. So he tried to strike it in on the angle. It's a very difficult angle. Comes back off the post. And Windass was running onto it. And he was very clearly clipped from behind for a penalty. And the referee said nothing.
It was Gregory, just to say. I know that match report says Windass.
Yes, it was Gregory. Yeah.
Match reports now. It's the Associated Press. It's nonsense. It's rubbish. But yeah, it's as clear a penalty shout as I've maybe ever seen. Like,
yeah.
He's falling over the defending player before he gets to the box, and then fully commits to just smashing Gregory.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's in his mind. The defender has thought, well, I'll take him out. He's got an open goal, so I'll take him out to save the goal. Maybe I get a yellow. Maybe I get a red. But I've stopped the goal. And for it not to be given was just insane. Absolutely insane.
It's one of the poorest decisions I've seen this season. I think it is the poorest decision I've seen this season in third-tier Sheffield Wednesday football.
It's weird how they are so bad, but it's they find different ways to be bad. Because more often than not, it's like they don't make a decision. So that's their big thing that they do is they don't get drawn in. They don't give in to the crowd. I'm being strong.
You're saying it's season 23 of Dennis the Menace.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very odd. So we made nice positive substitutions, really, didn't we? So just before the hour mark, before that incident, we brought Windass on for Canberra, which gave everybody a lift, seeing Windass come back, and Byers, Luke's bête noire. Byers went off and Massimo Luongo came on. And then we made another sub just because I think it felt like we were cranking up the pressure. But the third and final sub was we brought on Berahino for Deli Bashiru.
Which is a popular, not in terms of its reception, but in terms of a common move from Darren Moore. It's a very Darren Moore chess gambit.
Yes.
For bringing on the effective, bustling, always busy, very committed player in Deli Bashiru, and bringing on someone who is none of those things, Sadio Berahino.
I did think, in a way, again, in the kind of way that we would bring in Jordan Rhodes in these situations, I thought it was theoretically a good move. In that we were making chances. The ball's in the box. You want the fox in the box guy to be there. As I'm saying, theoretically, it's the right move to make. But
when you say fox in the box, you're saying a very mangy, diseased fox who has his head stuck in a box of KFC, much like Winnie the Pooh with a honeypot, as you were.
Yeah. Doing that noise like a woman screaming that they do.
I mean, we don't know how it happened, but he actually is like, instead of rabies, he's actually got gangrene as a disease, which he can actually bite into other people. It's quite impressive. He's bad. I know. I'm hoping for the best personal case as a Wednesdayite that there's a situation that he redeems himself. I think we're seeing a narrative of players coming back and redeeming themselves with certain performances. It can happen. But he owes us. He owes us for a lot of pitch time, to be honest.
So we spent the whole game. We spent 80 some minutes. We had, how many corners did we have in total? We had 14 corner kicks, and till the 83rd minute, they were all aimed at the back post for Che Dunkley, and one of them went to the front post, and that's what produced the equalising goal.
Yeah. What another wonderful guiled header from Gregory.
It's a good ball from Windass. It's a great bit of movement from Gregory. Real don't mind me. I'm just going for a walk. Flick it over your head. Yeah, I mean, really a beautiful effort. Guided into the side netting on the far side. Absolutely deserved on the balance of play and the amount of chances we'd continue to make. So many shots just straight at this keeper, straight down his throat. Corbeneau being particularly guilty of that particular trait. I really like seeing some of, I really like seeing some of Jack Hunt's work continued into today as well. But this position, he's really grabbing the wing element of being wing back by the short and curlies and running with it, which is nice to see. But this is a monumental game, isn't it, Luke? Because we know this Sheffield Wednesday team can come back and get a draw from behind, but it is now a number of years since we actually got the 3 points from behind. But we only went and did it.
Only gone and blooming won the game in stoppage time, haven't we?
Corbeneau, Windass and Bannon just kind of like bumping balls off MK Don's defenders until something something broke loose. And I mean, it's very cool and calm, given that we're in the 93rd minute by the time the ball's played in, and 94th by the time that the ball goes in the goal. Corbinow's pass is very well thought through. Windass has picked up a position just out of the huddle. A little bit of luck because he goes for it first time with his left. And sort of whiffs, but whiffs in the most perfect way possible because it goes.
Well, how does
right
he?
Over him
It's pretty miraculous, like a miss kick, like because he's meeting that with his left foot, and he manages to get underneath it and skew it backwards. Because I kept thinking, like,
I don't know,
or did he? You could purposely
himself.
You could purposely do that if someone, if you're practicing on the training ground and you're dicking around with some friends in the schoolyard. And someone feeds the ball to you and you slice it up over yourself and swivel round and do that. Yeah. After about 10 attempts, you might do one that's, okay. You're not going to do anything in a professional football match with as many players against you and other professional players playing against you to do something like that and to turn and swivel and to meet the ball so well. What a finish.
That's the thing, isn't it? The finish is so perfect on his right foot. It's just gorgeous. And I also wondered, they've been so backs to the wall, bodies on the line, just that little break in what's expected. Maybe the only way we were going to score that goal was something freakish happening, followed by a great piece of execution from Windass to finish it off.
What a brilliant way to announce his return.
Oh, it's storybook stuff, isn't it?
It really is.
I'm not going to say you couldn't write it because I have heard a brilliant, it's just like, it's like, have you seen June? I think they can picture Stevenage beating Diamond and Redbridge. But yeah, there are times when sport, I think obviously it's predictable within its own realms, but it's when things happen that would stretch credulity. If you read that in a story, you go, oh, come on. Of course he doesn't score the 95th minute winner. But I mean, we're in the midst of a pretty good run of form now. We'll talk about it at the end of the coverage of today's game, but alternating draws and wins and getting more wins than you get draws.
Mm-hmm. Shall I just completely shoplift that initial quote because it's something you sent to me recently? So just look at that. I think we've sent it back to you over a number of years as well. So it's nothing new. I'm sick of sports commentators saying you couldn't write a script like this. If people can write scripts about dystopian futures in which life is in fact a simulation made by sentient machines to harness humans' heat and electricity as an energy source, they can probably write ones about Gary Taylor Fletcher scoring a last-minute equaliser against Stoke.
Yes. Exactly. But we've got a new sports psychologist involved supposedly at the club. I don't know whether this is his or there. I shouldn't assume. One mustn't assume. It doesn't need to be a male sports psychologist.
Well, I mean, that's the first thing, Rich. I mean, I'm also going to correct you on two terms here, Rich, is that if you've seen Ted Lasso, what it means is you get a sports psychologist who's a woman.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can't operate on this film. This is my son. Why?
Yeah.
Ooh, it turns out you're a sexist and you didn't think women could be doctors. So that's the first thing, Rich. Let me put you in your place.
Exactly.
The second thing is sports psychologist. You get one, and they take you to promotion. So there we go. Thank you, Ted Lasso.
Hopefully, nobody else has heard about this brilliant idea in the league. Because if everybody gets a sports psychologist, then where are we?
There's going to be a real pile up in that queue.
The first team to get two is the one that wins. It's an arms race.
We all just thought Ted Lasso was going to teach us management tips about being a goldfish and how we should all bake amazing shortbread, right?
Yeah, exactly. And every day could be Movember if you really try hard.
Exactly. And that bad jokes about draws that are called ties, but no one calls them ties here, so that joke doesn't work. Maybe if they send them some underpants and be like, "Ooh, draws! Oh, I get it now."
Yeah, that could work.
That could
That
work.
would be better.
Fucking, I'm wasted here. I should be in that fucking writer's room.
And then there's a new character called Luke, and it turns out Juno Temple likes him even more, actually.
He recommends they all have chips and they win the league. Fuck you, David Moyes.
So shall we talk about the weekend's game?
Let's do that, yeah.
But yeah, what tremendous. I mean, even I was sat alone in my car, punching the air. I did do a little honk on the horn. Nobody else would have known what it was about. Unbelievable. Great comeback and
brilliant performance. A top six side. We've done what we said we would. We keep the unbeaten run going. It's an incredibly gutsy performance, and one that I think I seem to see a lot of people posting on Facebook and Owls Talk and Twitter to say, I'm still happy today. It seemed to be one of those moments that bred a lot of goodwill amongst Wednesdayites for a very...
It's a big monkey on our back, hasn't it? It's been a big... I mean, that sinking feeling when we let in a goal in that, like, all the best we can absolutely hope for now is a draw has been deep set. It's bone deep at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
So to rid ourselves of that particular mental tick and mental block is very, very important. I think it feeds into we had the run of form. I know this is an unbeaten run that's stretched. We've talked about it, likening it to the Huddersfield one, but peppering in these wins along the way is what makes that good form rather than worrying form. Draws can kind of, it's just like a lot like Thai food. You can. I don't have anything to follow that with, to be honest.
Didn't think we're gonna pad our season out with ties.
Hey, again, get this guy in the blooming writers' room, please. For the love of all that is holy. Right, so would we have an after the Lord Mayor's show type performance at the weekend? That was the big question on everybody's lips.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have such a question in your mind, what better way to soothe your dark thoughts than to see Callum Patterson is starting at centre back, and Olamide Shodipo is starting the game. Oh yay! It's gonna be good. Yeah. Were you similarly kind of a bit heartsink?
Yeah. It's wacky lineup shit, as I put it in my notes.
Wacky business.
And then we're trying to bring a player back. We're trying to manage him. We're trying to give him minutes. So then we play Windass in centre midfield.
Yeah.
Probably more of a player who's going to burst.
Turned out sort of everywhere. Windass just went wherever he felt like.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, I mean, as you say, the signing of Mendez-Laing and not signing a defender, once again, we just simply do not have options in defence. And we insist, maybe we have to. I can understand. If I was told by Darren Moore he doesn't trust any of his centre-backs to play in a two, I'd understand that. I'd probably agree. But the fact is, this shape, this means we're playing the maximum number of centre-backs.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing it at a time where we just simply don't have very many players in that position.
Yeah. So
we end up with Callum Patterson, whose game he will play anyway. He'd play in goal if you asked him to. But what I don't understand about this, and it plays a prominent part in the game, the fact that Patterson is centre back. What I don't understand in that is him being the left, like he's the least comfortable centre back, presumably playing in, of the three positions, the position he's would be least comfortable playing in. So is the thinking just put all of the weird in that one place? Because the other two are centre-backs by trade. So being a left-sided centre-back for them presumably is less weird than Callum Patterson playing centre-back, which he's never really done consistently at any point in his career.
So I feel you're a man who's a lot more astute about these things than I am, Rich. In terms of Brennan, like position, what side of centre-back?
Well, I mean, he played right, but he has played left before. I'm pretty sure him, and when we've played a couple of youngsters together, I think I've seen him play left-sided centre back. But you could also make an argument for there's definitely a bit of being wise after the event, because if Kieran Brennan is the one that makes a goal-costing mistake, then we're saying, why have you put the youngest player in the weird position? So
yeah. Well, maybe for the longer term future, now that we're seeing Brennan as a established option in our situation, like keeping his confidence going and keeping him comfortable as possible while he is getting that experience and getting the minutes of first team League One football is probably the best for him.
And I liked it. I liked his game today. I thought,
he's been pretty consistently decent. And
breaking forward a couple of times to try and sort of shock them and take them out of their rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
On top of a very solid defensive performance. Nice to see those other elements coming in. That Brennan Bauer, living up to that Brennan Bauer nickname that we all put upon him. So I missed the first 10 minutes. What did I miss?
What did you miss? There was a big, I guess the early kind of chance that kind of happened was, if I'm recalling this correctly, on the 5th minute, and it was Hunt who did really well to keep the ball. He actually clattered into Massimo Luongo. He swiveled, played it into Gregory in the centre, who then cycled it out to Shodipo on the wing. Shodipo puts a cross in. Stockdale palms away very uncomfortably, which then kind of came to Canberry, who then did like a kind of swiveled effort from just inside the box, which Stockdale managed to palm away, which it looked a difficult chance to kind of connect with it like Canberry did. So that was kind of like an early chance that we had that was of some merit. I'm not really sure how to kind of think about it again when I kind of think back at it in my mind. It'll probably make the extended highlight reel. But, a sign that it's kind of coming together, and some of that, probably more a triumph for the build-up play from that. Canberry is a very strange finisher.
Yes.
I would say. The thing I'm really enjoying, though, is I felt from this game, just to kind of cut forward, Canberry had a very decent game today.
I agree. I liked his work today.
Yeah. And work is, I think saying I liked his work is a good way of putting it and putting it across for the sake of this conversation. I'm still not 100% sure of what his talents are.
No.
But he definitely does something, and I think it's definitely positive. There's a certain doggedness. I think there's a certain, every now and again, there's a certain talent that kind of ekes out from what he's doing and what he's playing.
Yeah.
So no, it is positive that we've got now. He seems to be making the position his own and making a case for his name up front with Gregory as part of that partnership, and it seems to be working. You could call it the Mandalorian.
Yeah, lovely.
This is the way. Says Darren.
I think Gregory thrives off. I think we talked about how he's not a lone frontman, he's a foil player. And I think he thrives having a partner. And I think to Canberry's credit, he's probably the player in the squad I want to see partnering Gregory.
Well, I think the interesting thing with that is I don't think they ever look like it's a natural. It never looks a natural partnership.
No, they sort of play near each other rather than together.
Yeah, exactly. But then it feels like they have enough in common that there's a bit of a loose kind of association between them. But it seems to work. It seems to create some space between them that I think we benefit from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that having the threat of both of them is a lot for most teams to cope with.
Yeah.
And it reduces the amount that each player has to do themselves, which I think neither of them are particularly adept when they're under that full scrutiny. But in terms of like putting together now what my first choice 11 will be, I think this shape now feels comfortable and works for the team. So you're putting your blocks in that shape generally, and I think, as I say, I think despite the fact I like Patterson and his work rate, probably for the foreseeable, I want to see those two together up top. Although maybe Josh Windass has got the opportunity to make a case for himself joining that pair, or joining Gregory, I would guess, up top. Where we put Windass is going to be interesting. I mean, effectively against the MK Dons, he's playing left wing back alongside Corbinu to very good effect. But how sustainable is that to essentially have two players playing?
Yeah, a good dilemma to have, and maybe that's more of a dilemma for Patterson as well. Is that like I think he's someone who needs to be on the pitch. I'm just not entirely sure where that is. I'm glad it worked today. I'm happy to see it given another chance.
Yeah,
I mean, it did make my heart sink seeing it on paper today.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, weirdly now, I think his best position, Patterson, is probably right wing back.
Yeah, I would say that too. But I really don't want to see Hunt has been incredible the past two games.
He's been so good the last
midweek. Hunt was an absolute beast, and I think the same performers are probably going to come out with the same amount of credit today from two very different games, but two very difficult games against top six opponents. But I think the two that I want to say pivotal for both games, Luongo and Hunt, midweek and today were exceptional.
Yeah,
Hunt
definitely
had them on toast today.
He just seemed to have so much to his play, and there's one. Well, the goal. I know it's skipping ahead. We should probably try and be a little bit more
linear
in things. But so we started well, which is a nice trend we seem to have, but then dropping off after about 15 minutes and then giving them an opportunity or two is a less nice is a more worrying trend, and that is one that continued a little bit here. I don't really know what went wrong, but we kind of got played, didn't we, with whatever happened on the wing there. I know Jack Hunt was sort of blaming Canberry, and Canberry was looking agog at Jack Hunt, but it was the left-sided centre back who I should remember his name because he scored later. Obita. Obita sort of crossed over with McClary, I think it was. And so Obita was heading back towards his own half, and McClary went on the overlap towards our goal, and he backheeled it, and it left both Hunt and Canberry completely out in the cold, and it gave McCleary a very clear run, pardon the pun, towards our box. And he cut it back to the edge of the box, and they were queuing up for it. Really, we'd gone very deep, and it's a messy goal, isn't it? Scored by Mehmeti, who I've never seen a football player playing in a knee brace, but he seemed to have a pretty heavy strapping on his knee, which you'd think Luongo would just half him and we'd wave him off, cheerio. But it didn't happen. He got his shot on target, and I think Patterson was the one that redirected it past Bailey Peacock-Farrell and just completely gave him no chance on the save. Frustrating and familiar. They have one shot and they score from it, despite we have several efforts and don't manage to carve anything particular out. And they have one effort and it's a goal. We didn't lose I think this is the difference. I think you could feel the difference in the air having come from behind. I think there was a feeling that, okay, there's plenty of time to play. Let's get on with it, kind of thing, rather than head in hands. The players' heads didn't go down, but then we had a weird stoppage. I don't know how this came across for you watching from afar, but there was some commotion over in the North Stand. All of the St. John's ambulance people charged up there. So I think naturally you're thinking, we've seen this a couple of times recently where it's a fan has had some sort of health episode and have needed emergency help. It doesn't appear to have been that, though. It was some sort of scuffle, apparently. So a different story, but the game stopped. The players went in, and it meant that the scoreboard clock was completely confusing for the rest of the half because it seemed to just be allowed to keep rolling. So for about 15 minutes, it was 45 minutes, but it looked like we'd come out. As well as we'd started, it looked like we came out with a bit of a rocket up us. I don't know whether it was some motivational speech at the break, or whether it was just a bit of reassurance that there was nothing to be worried about from the opposition, that we should just play our game. But we sort of redoubled our efforts on return, which again is sorry, go on.
No, just incredibly strange, the fact that like it seemed to be without having any great insight to it not being in the game itself, like this was some type of medical emergency and something very untoward happened to a supporter in the ground. But then
supposedly it was just a fight.
Right.
Two lads got decked.
Two fans were pretty much just going at it, like arguing, and then took it to fisticuffs, which is pretty shoddy, pretty embarrassing. I mean, it's kind
pretty
of
shoddy and embarrassing.
It's pretty good news, I guess, in a different context.
Yeah,
but that kind of gave me, from my perspective, where I was, watching thousands of miles away, the perspective of like, okay, lads, we've got to go out and do it for that guy. Apparently, we should never do it for any of those people because they're cretins. That seems to be the case. They're embarrassing piece of shit. But anyway. Apart from two lads getting a bit too fucking carried away at a football match. It's Rob and John made the comment, and I'm sure you probably agree as well, because I think it's been something you've remarked on quite a few times, is any delay in passage of play usually messes us up, but this seemed to be quite the opposite for us. Yeah.
It was pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think quite quickly following that break is when Shadipo had his best moment in the game. He took his man on and took his man on again, and he beat him both times, which doesn't normally happen. He beats him the first time and then he runs into him the second time. But he got a little sort of cross that he hung up at the far post, and Gregory made tremendous contact heading it down towards the ground, and somehow Stockdale kept it out. It was one of those where you really couldn't believe that it hadn't crossed the line. It stretched credulity that it didn't go over the line. By the way, Stockdale's, and he's been around, hasn't he?
He is. He's 36 years old.
Yeah,
is Mr. Stockdale.
Been around.
Mm-hmm.
Been around the world, and aye.
And he was an interesting character because he was the one who left Brighton, who were kind of doing very well in ascendancy, to jump ship and go to Birmingham of all places for the moolah.
Yeah, and how'd that work out for you?
Didn't work out very well, but I'm sure it worked out very well for his bank account, I guess.
I guess that's the main thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, what are these medal trinkets all about? If you can look at your bank balance and give yourself a hearty pat on the back.
Well, I'm sure. As I think I saw looking around other football today, I saw that Danny Drinkwater had bagged for Reading.
Oh yeah,
and which is often a worn path, isn't it, from Chelsea to Reading on a loan deal, lamenting his career. And I was there thinking, I don't think I'd lament my career if I got 120 grand a week to do fuck all at Chelsea.
Yeah,
I think that'd be quite a good little. Nice little Bunsen burner, I think they would call it, Danny.
Bunsen burner.
And do you find it interesting that we're looking at this Wycombe team, who we've got a couple of players who've trodden a worn path? There's a path from Chelsea to Reading. There's also seems to be the path from Reading to Wycombe.
That's the next step in the the next step down the ladder.
Step down the ladder on a local basis, because we've got a Beta and we've got McCleary, haven't we? We're both storied Reading careers before plodding onto Wycombe.
Yeah, Sam Vokes seems a very good player to have in this division. I know he's no spring chicken, but
well, there seem to be a lot of people who I think prior to us getting Gregory, who was a pretty darn decent acquisition, as we can say now, thankfully. But there seem to be people saying, why are we not getting Pigots? Why are we not getting Vokes? Yes. These were some of the names of some of the characters who've, who have manufactured League One moves and been pretty sizable signings for those. Sizable for Sam Vokes because he's a chunky chap, isn't he?
He's a big boy.
Mm-hmm. By the way, while we're talking about, let's make pithy comments here, Rich. Wycombe's away kit is terrible. It's like Brannigans Chris did a bold rebrand.
In particular, their sort of enormous centre back, Tafazoli. It looked at times like he had his shirt off because he's quite tanned complexion wise, and the gold. Then it just looked like he had his taps off, lads, taps off. We're on the beach, gonna not Lee Gregory. That's what I'm at. He's not Scottish, but taps off is Scottish. So there you go. It works. He's Iranian, I believe. So possibly the opposite of Scottish, if that works. Notes wise, should we fast forward to the goal, or are you?
It was really gutting, the point that I think you brought up about the 39th minutes. That was a good thing. We seem to be getting close. On the 27th minute before the delay, we had a corner which Hunt clipped over. Dunkley headed it onto Canberry.
Yes, yeah.
Just heartbreakingly couldn't do anything of any,
it was it's one of those moments where like Dunkley has like headed it at a right angle to where his face is pointing, but he expects Canberry to perfectly react in the moment. Just a bullet header at a 30-degree angle to where he's pointing, but Canberry's supposed to read that and react. That made me laugh that he shouted at him so much.
We had a bit of countering back and forth with Vokes was played on from a flick on.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. He should have really tested Peacock Farrell with that effort, shouldn't he? It looked like he had a lot of time and space to pick his spot.
To put his foot through.
Almost psyched himself out.
And then on the counter from that, what do you think about a penalty shout on Luongo?
There's contact. I don't think there's intent.
I thought you were going to say harsh. There's contact, and then there's contact.
I thought it was a bit half-hearted in terms of penalty calls. What did you make of it?
Yeah, at the time I did, and then kind of looking back and thinking about it, I was like, yeah, this is a little bit soft. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the biggest shout, I thought there was a couple of shouts potentially for handball. One of them we then went on to score from, but there was another one, I think it might have been beforehand, where I think Shadipo had beaten his man again, and he sort of played the ball in, and it really looked like it hit their player in an arm in an unnatural position. It was kind of like hanging away from their side, not at an angle rather than just straight down. I thought that could have been given, but then referees don't make those sort of big calls, I don't think, in this league. They seem to mainly just kind of keep their head down and hope for the best. Oh, tell you what really made me laugh, sorry. Two things to pick up. So one thing that made me laugh, we had, so when we had the break in play for the incident, ball had gone out for a Wycombe throw-in, and when we restarted, the ref made the Wycombe player go back a few steps. So it's like even though it was like 20 minutes later, he'd remembered where that was, which really, really made, like, it's like, how picky. I'm going to remember that. I've written it down where it was. when we restart, I'll make sure it's taken in the right place. This is just to call out a bit of so the fighting in the stands embarrassing, also embarrassing and genuinely just crappy behaviour. Fans chanting Theo, particularly when Shodipo got the ball.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
we can all see. I'm not loving Shodipo's work in a Wednesday shirt at this point, but we can all see he's suffering for confidence. Who does it help chanting Theo, Theo?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's nothing much to it, but it was disappointing, and it's just the sort of people doing it. They think they're clever. It's just harming people's confidence again. And lo and behold, in this game, fast forward, spoiler alert, Theo Coburn, who came on and had probably his worst performance in a Wednesday shirt, he did the sum total of nothing when he came on. So just get a grip, support the team that's playing. Don't try and support an imaginary team in your mind. Anything else then? So it's strange. We kind of we played the game like it was like the clock had stopped. So the minute there was 1 minute of added time at the end of the game and things like that. But interestingly, from the sort of record, the goal is given at 45 minutes plus 9. So that wasn't the case. So presumably the clock kept running.
The clock did, well, because that was the thing. Because on the footage we had, there didn't seem to be any great announcement about how much stoppage time there was. They had 11 minutes in the end.
Yeah, but they announced 1. So it's like in the ground, it was played like time stopped and we started again. And then we got to 45 minutes and we played 1 minute added on. So presumably the delay was 10 minutes. But it's weird that that's not how it worked in the world outside the little Hillsborough bubble.
Well, we would. I mean, it was like 15 minutes or 20 minutes before stopping play and starting again, which is fine. But then it's like, well, how much? I don't know. It wasn't.
Yeah. But the goal, Hunt was taking a while over a throw, and he was waiting for things to open up, and nobody was really making space for him. People were getting a bit antsy and frustrated. People just need to chill out. But anyway, he's getting antsy. He's looking for an option. And Bannon made a sort of dart towards the goal and towards their area, and Hunt picked him out. This is where I thought their big centre-back, number 5, I thought handballed it because as Bannon touched it past him, but fell to Gregory. And Gregory was as cool and as calm and as collected as a stone-cold killer in the face of Stockdale. He just rolled the ball as Stockdale flailed and then passed it to Shodipo, who had a nice, easy finish. Great goal. Really well thought.
The only thing I was going to say was, just going through, I scared my cat fisting the air, as I've put it, as I was watching the game. Sorry, Leonard.
You scared the air by fisting the cat?
I did, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I did. No, I didn't. Hutton had no options, taking his time, throwed it semi-long for Baz. I thought he had a great touch, kind of going on to Gregory from what I kind of saw. I couldn't kind of figure it out. Gregory's one-on-one with Stockdale. The cop takes a large inhale with expectation for him to strike.
Yes.
He dawdles it forward. Just dallies with it at his feet. Almost to the point where I was so focused, I think like everybody's so focused on what he is going to do in that situation.
Yeah.
As our number 9, as a one-on-one with the keeper.
Yeah.
Didn't even see, I was so blinkered, I didn't even see Shodipo was there. Rolls it to Shodipo past them. And Shodipo bags between 2 Brannigan-kitted Wycombe players on the line. 1-1. Yeah.
Great goal. Thoroughly deserved.
Mm-hmm.
And nice to see Shodipo get going for us in terms of league goals.
That's his second, I believe, isn't it?
I think possibly, yes.
And he also had one disallowed, which should never have been disallowed, as we remembered earlier in the season.
Yep. That until this point, the best thing he'd done in Wednesday shirt.
He did have one very good game, didn't he?
I don't remember that, but maybe.
He did.
That's good. Good to know.
That's fine. You're allowed to have opinions, Luke. And then, so that kind of takes us into half time. I mean, we had a few kind of half chances after then. We were chomping. We had the bit between our teeth, I would say.
Yeah.
And shame to say we didn't need half time to come at that point.
No. But again, unlike so many Wednesday teams before them, we just kept at it after the break. Just so bizarre to see a Wednesday team reacting well to these big moments in matches. It's so unlike us. It feels like it's in the DNA of the club to overreact and react badly when there's an injury break or
I was so glad in this situation to be even a situation looking back at thinking about midweek, it just felt like I think there's been a very, very Pavlovian reaction to Wednesday conceding and us as Wednesday fans thinking we didn't get what we deserved today.
Yeah.
So managing to buck that trend is huge. It would have felt really unfair to be behind in this half of football.
Definitely. It felt a little bit harsh to be to be drawing in some ways, but because they really had so few, one shot on target, two shots off. They had so few ventures forward, really. Mm-hmm. Given that they just pumped Plymouth. That's the thing. I mean, these are two good teams we've played. We talked last week. Is this kind of like, is it papering over the cracks? Have we beaten a rubbish team and it makes it, it makes all those draws kind of look a bit better? But we come to the end of this week. Well, no, we're not there yet. But it's a very different situation. We've played two very good teams, two teams above us in the table, and come out maybe feeling a bit aggrieved that we've not got 6 points from that situation, which says a lot for the way we've started to play. Not suddenly. It's been a process. It's been a gradual process. But 5 minutes into that second half, we went ahead.
Trumpy Bum is back, baby.
Trumpy Bum is back, and very much his sort of effort, just hitting it early, catching the keeper kind of cold. Shadipo unlucky not to get the assist. He sort of took the right back for a bit of a walk and popped the ball in, but it came off their defender first. I think it would have been Wheeler probably that headed it away. Headed it right to the feet of Windass, who struck it very hard and low. But Stockdale probably should have saved it. I think it was pretty close to him. You know what,
Rich? You know what, Rich? I don't give a shit.
No, me either, really. It's perfectly like it. It's one of these that kind of bobbles, but the bounce is right where the keeper was. So it was perfect, although unplanned. We had a really good effort from Canberry not long after that as well. He was that produced a really good save from Stockdale, and to save it and get it pretty clear was pretty impressive from his point of view.
So I guess moments kind of in between here that kind of sandwich a little bit of narrative before the equalizing goal. Yeah. I did recall that, like as you said, that Canberry chance. It wasn't something I committed to notes. We did had a bit of a spell after that, like kind of going and kind of pushing for that third goal.
We didn't just stop, which is nice.
Yeah,
we didn't sit back.
I can't believe that push on Shadipo on the 56th minute was allowed.
Yeah,
that was really poor. I mean, for the fact we came up against a side that we can see are decent and a side who are, the cream of what we've got in this third tier. I thought that Wycombe were a bunch of handsy, shovey buggers. Yeah,
the ref did several strange things because he let them get away with loads of. It's interesting. Darren Moore post match talked about them being the most experienced team in the league.
Which I thought was really funny comment, because if you take it at its face value, you think, I don't know if I agree with that, Darren. But then, reading between the lines, I can see what he means.
They do all the dirty tricks and the time wasting, and I know their average age is 29, so they're also old as well. Like they're old and experienced. But like there were so many fouls on all of our front line. Gregory was pulled to the ground several times. Canberry was shoved over. Windass was shoved and kicked and pushed. And Shadipo was just fouled constantly. Incredible that right wing back didn't get a card of any shape. And then, amazingly, Shadipo got given a card for his one challenge in the whole game. The refs in this league are just, I know we keep saying it, but so bad. It's just awful. Because each one of their back five really should have had a totting up card given to them. There were so many fouls. Yes, they were all like 14 fouls. They were all little like nibbly, pushy, shovey type things. But surely when you do that many of them, it starts to count for something, right?
Yes. Yeah.
it surely adds up.
The 62nd minutes, that felt like quite a let-off.
That was the long ball over the top.
Long ball they pump forward from a goal kick from Stockdale. It bounces through for Hanlon. Suddenly in a good position. I think he was in an okay position. I think the thing that really makes an even better position is when Peacock Farrell makes a really stupid decision to come out of his box.
He charged out, then stopped, then decided to commit to it. It was really an odd moment. He did get the all-important kind of foot in, but it could just as easily have gone behind him or over him. Or
well, he didn't know, actually, because it was Dunkley who kind of rescued that situation, I thought.
I think Peacock Farrell gets his foot in. I'm watching it back, by the way, that's the pause. I think Peacock Farrell gets his left foot in there. At the time, I thought we were maybe lucky to avoid a penalty in that situation. It looked all kinds of clumsy and it just looked like that sort of situation. And it's isolated as well, which is always makes things tricky. It might be Dunkley. It's quite hard to tell. Again, we've got that one angle. You don't get to see anything else. You don't get to see it slowed down. It's a bad decision from Peacock Farrell. I suppose having made the decision to charge out, he's better to do it properly than not do it. But it's not. It doesn't look good. It was also, I think, second half they got quite a bit of joy in putting their number 18 Hanlon up against Patterson. I think Patterson really struggled with that second half. Foreshadowing, it's part of what happened for the goal. But that also, I think Dunkley just wasn't sure what to do when it was one of his defensive partners that was up for the header. And he seemed to just charge in behind them. And sometimes that worked. And sometimes that didn't. And this was one of those times where it didn't. So we ended up in an absolute scramble trying to work things. But I don't think there was a foul watching it back. It does look, it's a bad decision from Bailey Peacock Farrell. It's good defending from Che Dunkley, and we got it. We survived that one at the very least.
But survival didn't last too long, did it really?
No.
I completely lapsed on. So Moore was saying how it wasn't a very good decision for the free kick.
Well, it was bad decision making. Patterson just gone through the back of him needlessly.
Okay.
That was my reading of it. Anyway, I think it's a bad place to give the free kick away.
But I mean, a free kick which could potentially be dangerous. I mean, I really want to give some kudos here. This is that's a rather exceptional angle to strike a football.
It certainly is. Yeah, he's sort of Bailey Peacock Farrell is setting up, sort of saying, you can have that one if you get it, and he got it because Peacock Farrell's got to hedge. I've seen some threads saying, oh, he's effed up again. Bring Dawson back. Don't bring Dawson back. Please, please, please do not bring Dawson back. But I do think he gets caught playing he's playing a game. He's got to hedge to an extent, because what you're expecting the player to do in that situation more often than not is put it in there for a defender or somebody to head the ball.
Well, the thing that was just so heartbreaking about it is like the fact that, again, this is equalizing goal, which means that we get 1 point from a game, which we should have got 3. Let's fast forward and say that. From Peacock Farrell's, like watching that from my angle, which is probably the same angle that you will see.
Yeah.
You can see in slow motion the moment where Peacock Farrell's in the best position. He resets himself to then go back and correct himself by trying to make the save. And it's like
the curve of the ball is like a cross, but then it moves so much in the air. It goes from being a cross, and it's hit obviously with the pace of a shot. Nobody would want to put their head on that. It was thundered in. It's a great free kick. I think Bailey Peacock Farrell will think, we'll spend probably the week wanting people to replicate that so he can learn from it. But I do think, as I say, you're almost sort of saying, it's like keepers do it all the time, don't they? They put their wall on one side, they stand on the other, and effectively you're sort of saying, if you can hit it well enough, there's no way I can possibly get over that side.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think you can do it. And it's the same sort of thing that he's doing. He does instinctively take that step left, which means he cannot possibly get to the ball. If he'd stood where he was, he could have got a hand to it. It doesn't take away the sting though that it's another point lost, another 2 points lost from a winning position. Again,
I think you've made this point before. Like, there's no one who's going to be on the Sheffield Wednesday training ground to replicate that for
no.
Because if we get something like that, that's Bannon putting it in for a header, which we're probably most times not going to do anything with.
Did you? I can't quite remember what minute this happened, but Bannon hit one of the most bizarre free kicks I've ever seen today. The thing where he tried to like sort of fizz it. He did it in the second half.
I don't recall this. Sorry.
Oh, it's really. I think it looked like he shaped like he was going to chip it, but he hit it straight along the ground. And I don't know whether it was on purpose or whether he just completely messed it up. It was awful. He looked really annoyed and was shouting at everybody, but he does that with everything. But it was terrible. It was really one of the most, bizarre, worst performed free kicks I've seen in a long, long time. Have you got any? I mean, we did give it a good go. We had some. We tried to sort of make things happen after that. We tried to get the lead back, but to no avail, really. And I don't really remember any kind of gilt-edged chances.
Well, nothing gilt-edged. I mean, 65th minute, there was something unfortunate. Canberry put a decent cross in to Gregory, but it was just beyond.
Yeah.
Gregory, that was nice, but it was kind of weird. There was a strange free kick given, I think, from a melee, but then I looked it back, and then Gregory absolutely put his laces through someone's stomach in the Wycombe defence. So that was quite funny. The 74th minute. Thought there was a great move on the 75th minute following that. Surging run from Mendez-Laing, slipped to Barry Bannon with a through ball to Windass, but the cross was deflected out. That is 2 substitutions, yeah.
Yeah, we made attacking changes, didn't we? So Mendez-Laing came on for Hunt and Corbin came on.
Some of the best substitutions we've seen from Darren Moore.
And Deli Bashiru coming on for Windass. I was glad. I'm glad in terms of managing Windass and his time on the pitch, I was glad he was taken off because I thought he was looking tired. He definitely waned in his influence on the game. And he'll have, having him to fight another day is important. So I thought it was a good change to make. And I thought Deli Bashiru really gave it his all in that little cameo. And possibly our best chance of the game was the one where he just sort of battered through a dawdling defender and nearly ended up sort of bearing down on goal towards the end.
Oh, that was huge. Yeah.
But I liked Mendez. I liked the look of Mendez-Laing.
Interesting. We want to say about Mendez-Laing. I wanted to kind of ask you. It's weird with his build. He looks like he should be quicker.
He takes a little while to get going, but I thought he looked fairly quick, fairly rapid. Bigger than I thought.
I think that's probably the thing with the acceleration. It's a slow acceleration, but he's got a quick pace. He's got a pace, right? It's
an
acceleration 10,
speed,
pace 80.
Yeah.
Talk about the footy man stats for these people. Wycombe decided to try and bring some kind of change to the effect of the game by bringing on grab bag sized Brannigans, Akinfenwa. Or maybe limited edition Brannigans roast beef and mustard flavored hobnobs, perhaps.
We lost our minds over him a couple of times, and he's literally got nothing left now other than just being big.
He's just a fat, slow shell of a football player.
Yeah, why are we worried? Why is anyone worried? Ridiculous.
We could do a foot race with him, like Dunkley could do a foot race with him, like a dad playing with a toddler at the seaside, like running across the sand, being like, oh, see if you can catch me. Oh. It's that thing.
He has got 2 goals this season, amazingly.
Wow.
39 years of age. Oh my goodness.
I thought the 84th minute we had a promising free kick, which Bannon hits in. It was kind of knocked up, and that was a Dunkley kind of looped one over the bar.
Yes, yeah. I think everyone was surprised he actually hit a good free kick. He didn't have his best game today, did Barry Bannon?
I thought some of the things from Bannon, like some of the play was okay. Yeah, but
he gave the ball away a lot today.
Interesting.
Way more than normal. But then again, he's involved in everything good that we do. So
yeah. It was just a heartbreaking, that last chance of the game that I think you've already brought up as well. It was just the tenacity, strength, and pace from Fizz, from FDB was something brilliant, and it was just heartbreaking that he won the ball and almost got it past Stockdale.
Yes, almost. Yeah, he's. I still really, really like his work. I like. There's lots to like about that young man. He's so strong and quick, and he's confident as well. Like he just doesn't. He's not cowed by anything, which is a great thing to have. Yeah, again, we're in this kind of Schrodinger's summary kind of thing, because it's a point from behind, but it's also 2 points lost.
Yeah. But another decent showing. And we're looking at a full week, which is 7 from 9.
Yeah. 3 games in a week, and we've taken 7 from 9. 2 teams that were above us in the table that we've looked good against. Probably we should have beaten probably both of them. It's hard not to be pleased with this week's work, I think, on the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a nice thing. There's been many weeks where we couldn't say that. I think, as we've sort of said, that it feels like there's now a thought and a plan. We're playing. There's an identity to the way we play, and quite excitingly, part of the way we play is we're pretty gung ho. It's about attacking teams. It's about putting our best foot forward and putting our strengths on them, rather than trying to, eradicate our weaknesses or pick on their weaknesses or dull their strengths. It's about us going forward, what we can do in the game. And we've been calling for that, hoping for that for years. And I think we've got to just enjoy this at this point in time. It feels like this, in a way, this week might be the week that we emerge as maybe the contenders that we were supposed to be. I know there's a long way to go and things like that, but we talked at the end of last week's episode and said, we've got these 2 pivotal games, and it'll tell us a lot about where we are. And I think where we are is right up there in terms of the qualities we have. The table is an absolute mess because so many people have got games in hand. It's really hard to tell who sits where, really.
Mm-hmm.
But we're on the cusp. We're within touching distance. And we're one of the form teams as it stands.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, considering that I think you really have to look at this, that we're coming into, as it stands, that playoff picture from a position where, like, really the strengths of what we did beforehand have really put us in a lying position when we were mid-table, being around the 14th, 15th spot, whatever it was, like to surge from that to 7th. I mean, I looked at the table afterwards and I was a bit staggered that we're still outside the top 6.
Yeah.
Like it feels, if we carry on with this, it's just a matter of time before we're in there knocking on the door for top 2. Really, we've come up against MK Dons, who, one of the top teams in this division, Wycombe, who trading around those top 2 positions. And I haven't had a chance to check, but I'll be damned if Wycombe and MK Dons fans, I think the MK Dons fans said this, Wycombe will be saying they were probably one of the best teams they've played in this division.
Yeah.
Like this is having the weight, having the name behind us, having the players with the credibility, and turning up and doing it to these teams.
Absolutely.
I think the big thing we've got to say with this is, like, there's a number of star performers today. Luongo again.
Yeah.
We've all known that if he's on, he's performing, he's fit. We're looking a different beast.
But look at the top. So the teams above us in this table: Rotherham, who we beat, Wigan, who we beat, Wycombe, who we drew with, but probably should have beat. Plymouth, okay, they've got like
we'll just forget about Plymouth.
Yeah, but they've lost 3 games in a row. They've gone from absolute top of the tree, rolling everybody over. Everybody wants to tickle Ryan Lowe's belly. To okay, now they're in a real slump. So how does he? Is he going to pull them out of that? Is he a good manager in those situations, or does he like being the bully and struggle when it's the boots on the other foot? Who knows? Sunderland, who we beat, MK Dons, who we beat. There was a point where people were saying, "Oh, the only teams we've beaten are the bottom 3." It's not the situation anymore. I think probably our performances against those middling teams is probably what's hurting us to an extent. We've drawn a lot. We very rarely lose.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the last league loss is beginning of October. We're staring down about 2 months of this.
So it's looking good. We don't get. I don't think there's any cause really to get carried away. But there's lots of positive signs here, and as people like Luongo and Windass come back and get increasingly fitter and have more of an influence, it's a nice picture. Defensively, I'd like another body in there. That would be nice, but
I'd like 2.
Yeah,
we don't know what's. We have no idea what's going on with Hutchinson.
No, because do you believe Darren Moore, who says he'll be back before the end of the year, or do you believe the rumours are that he's fallen out with everybody again, or who knows?
He didn't strain any fingers flicking on the lights at Sheffield Wednesday, Christmas lights.
Oh dear. He's also got, because his bleach blonde hair is now kind of growing out, so he really looks like he's an outcast from a boy band in the 90s with his like frosted tips. It's not a great look for a man who's in his mid-30s.
It's still better than what he was before, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think I saw him in a visual for that, and I was like, oh, look, Sam Hutchinson.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, what an awful...
Sam Hutchinson from O-Town, or New Kids on the Block. Oh, dear.
Oh, SHOTV. Sam Hutchinson on the block.
Oh, well, I think that's about it. I think we've done it. We've done it to death, really, Luke.
Well, let's do a little bit more, Rich.
Okay, well, no, you're absolutely right.
Because I think you know where I'm going with this. You've gone a little bit ahead of yourself there, Rich.
But... You're going to perform a poem for us. Thank you. No,
I wanted to say who would be, as we've looked at this middling,
we'd be remiss.
Would be remiss without doing a star performer.
Yes, it'd be rude to not pick a star performer. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued as to who.
Oh god, this is a tough one.
Who you're going to perform for?
This is a tough one. There's a lot of good options. So by admitting omitting people, I will give the caveats that does not no way decree their performance. We've mentioned how great Luongo's been. I think that has to be something that has to be held into account.
You have to think about that.
Shadipo was very, very good today.
Yeah.
Mendez-Laing had a nice little showing from the bench.
Little cameo.
I'm going to give it to Jack Hunt.
Nice. I agree. I think I agree.
An absolute revelation on that right. He was just chewing up space, just so full of pomp and confidence.
Yeah.
Just slapping about their left back on a constant basis, holding them off,
and
running
he's got
past.
a bad hand. All of that with a bad hand.
He's got like some webbing on his hand or something.
Yeah, he's channeling Jamie Vardy with having a pot on his wrist. No, that's a good call. Do we? Is it mean to go for a?
I don't think it's mean. I think because there's a lot of decent performances, and also we have to.
Farrell get a little bit of scorn balls towards his.
He gets a little bit of scorn balls, yeah. It's not bad. It's not
the full.
We've seen worse from Peacock Farrell.
Yes, not the full gamut of the villain of the piece, but
only on a couple of really stinky occasions.
Yeah,
but this is kind of middling. I mean, he's still barely Peacock Farrell. He's still the best goalkeeper at the club. We're still really grateful to have him.
And his at times his passing and his decision making in that regard that's where he really shows. That's where he's like, if it's like 7.5 and 7 in other areas, it's like 9 and 5 when it comes to distribution. It is important. It's important in the way that we set the pace in these games and keep the ball rolling. Okay, good stuff. Yeah. So now, would you agree that we've done it to death?
Now we've done it to death.
Now. Before, no, but now. Well, it's been a treat again. I look forward to picking things up next week, and
because next week we don't have a game, do we? There's not a Saturday game for us to review.
We've got Hartlepool's, haven't we? Midweek.
We've got the Hartlepool's in PJT.
Yeah, we're gonna grab ourselves a big old slice of the action.
You want to do another Papa John's episode?
We possibly could. Yeah.
Speaking of other things we can do to death.
Well, it's really dangerous. Somebody actually praised. Somebody in one of the reviews actually praised those the episodes we do different things with, which we are nothing if not incorrigible, and yeah, we'll think of something, eh?
Let's do it.
Also, should just say thank you. We had a lovely review from Oliver on Apple Podcasts, giving us 5 stars, which was lovely. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, we have very, very fragile egos, and we drink in these lovely words. So thank you very much. And if anybody else feels inclined to pop on and give us a 5-star review, it does help. Thank you. But with that, Luke, I'm going to say cheerio. Wish you all the best, and same to the folks at home. Cheery bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.